Our first speaker, and that's going to be AP, or Andrew Paul McIntosh. He's a college student who is doing a double major, communications and psychology. And he's and also an up and coming public speaker. He is here tonight to present a speech on the importance of presentation software and how we might use it or not use it. What can we learn from here? What can we learn from here? AP McIntosh, take it away.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. All righty. Now, I want you to answer me a question before I begin this lovely little presentation. How many of y'all have sat through a really bad, painful to watch PowerPoint presentation? By show of hands. Okay, I think it's safe to say that everybody on this call is familiar with what a bad presentation looks like. Unfortunately, you're going to see a bad presentation, but in a good way. And I'll make it make sense in just a little bit. I'm going to show you folks what not to do and what to do when you're constructing a PowerPoint presentation. So what I will use is a PowerPoint presentation that I constructed for a study group that I'm a part of based on a book that we're reading. So I will show that in just a minute once I come on screen. There we go. 1 minute, that's not doing what I wanted to do. There we go, perfect, alrighty. So let us start at the very basics. So I'll give you the what not to do and the to do part. So let's start first. We're starting the very first slide of any PowerPoint presentation, the opener, if you will, or the hook. Can anyone point out to me what's one thing, one flaw you see with this first title slide? Anybody? Just shout it out, open up your mic.
It's hard to read the title.
Too busy and it's hard to, yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. How many times have you seen a PowerPoint presentation that just tried a little bit too hard to cram every little element on the page? All of this text, all this images, all these designs that don't really work together at all, but it's just happening at once and you just don't know how to feel about it. Well, these are one of the sins when it comes to making a PowerPoint presentation. Having busy slides, A, and B, having text that people can't read, especially if for folks who are visually impaired, or if you're really just in the further back of an audience and just can't see that text. So what would you do in a typical stance? You can correct this sin by just doing the follow. Just keep it nice and minimal. Here, I have the image of the book I'm talking about on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have the image of the author who wrote the book. And I have the title of the slide down there, Change Your Question, Change Your Life, and a little subtitle for it too. Notice how the title of the slide is readable. Notice how I used images for the slide, but they're properly proportioned and they're not pixelated or 144p, one like slow quality images. So just take a look at that and just note that. Now on to the next, my next slide, this slide. For me, this functions as the explainer slide. It kind of explains what's kind of the purpose of this presentation, why you want to give the presentation, or what points you want to communicate to the audience. Do you notice what I wrote there for the body of the text? What does that say? You notice I just wrote the words, just pay attention, in the lights to the title of the slide saying, questions to keep in mind. Now, if I was conducting a PowerPoint presentation, folks, and I was thinking of ways to kind of, go, I wonder what this guy's gonna be talking about for the next 5 to 7 minutes, or however long this PowerPoint presentation would go on for. And I just wrote the words, just pay attention. What would you think? Pay attention to what? Exactly. What am I paying attention to? What's the main message? So sin number 2, if you will, when it comes to making a PowerPoint presentation, is not knowing the purpose of the presentation. You want to make sure that the purpose of the presentation is upfront and clear to every single person in the audience. You want to make sure that's out up front, because then it helps the audience members take away more of the concept from your presentation and keep it in their brains for long-term memory. So you want to make sure that's straightened away first. So to correct this sin, I like to use questions. It kind of helps people, questions help engage the brain. So I like to use questions. So I chose about 5 questions that kind of symbolize what I want people to get from the presentation, this dummy presentation that I created here. You know, what are these concepts? What are the tools? How do people use them? And things of that nature. So the main points of each of these are summarized to question, which gives folks something to work with, right? All right, on to sin number 3. And this one is just, ooh, it's just rather egregious. This is the other slide. What do you notice on the slide? What's one thing that you notice on the slide about the images?
It's busy.
It's very busy. A lot of the images are blown up. They're just strung together, discombobulated about. You know what's happening here. So number 3, when you're using images, make sure they fit on the slide, please, and make sure you organize them in a way that they aren't looking busy. To fix this, something like this. The reason why I use images for the slide, I wanted to find a way to depict the concepts in a way that would stick to the audience, because images is more memorable than words. So I wanted to use images to keep the main points in the audience's mind a little bit more. So that's why I used those. However, I made sure they were scaled down so they fit on the slide, and made sure they weren't too busy. I'm skipping that slide. All right, what about this one? What do you think the sin of this slide is?
Way too much stuff on there.
Close, close. The sin with this slide, however, notice how I stretched the image out to fit the entire portion of the slide. What you want to do whenever you're trying to find an image for a slide is to make sure that the dimensions are proper, that they can actually, that they're not stretched, or what I like to call in this case, warped. Warped images are very hard to read, and it communicates to the audience that, oh, this is a very low quality image. So I kind of wonder what the rest of the presentation is going to look like. You want to make sure that whenever you're using images, that they are readable. So for here, I couldn't find a perfectly scalable sized one, so I just put 2 of the same image next to each other. Not the best solution, however, it makes sure that my content's a little bit more readable. Of course, make sure that images are properly sized. This one's way too small. No one can see what that is. So fix that problem. Again, make sure you stretch the image out so people can see it, especially for those who are further in the back. Make sure images are properly sized on the slide. Don't blow them up unless there's some specific purpose or rhyme or reason to it. And of course, whenever you have an image, make sure to explain it. Like, don't just put an image to put an image sake. Explain what the image is and why you put it there. And of course, just a quick little wrap up. So folks, I hope after this presentation, you're at least familiar with some of the sins that come with creating a PowerPoint presentation. And some ways you can correct those sins. Thank you.